So starting with the first one, 7 over 15, you should get 0.4666 repeating. Your calculator might say a 7 at the end, but that is incorrect, and you can just use it as 0.46 repeating. The second question is 8 over 18. For this one, it's just 0.4 repeating. And you can just do 1/4 with the line over top for this one. For number 3, -8/12, we need to remember to put the negative sign, and then the decimal is 0.6 repeating. Your calculator will go like 0.66667, but that is just because the calculator can't go on forever and needs to round up. So remember that it's just 0.6 repeating. For the next one, we need to take -6 divided by 7. This one's a little more complicated, but we'll need to remember the negative sign, and it's 0.857142. And all of those numbers are repeating. For number 5, 3 and 15/44, we need to remember that the 3 is a whole number, so it goes in front of the decimal. And then 15/44 is 0.34009. And the only parts that are repeating are the 0 and 9, so just put the line on top of those two. For -2 and 5 over 22, we need to remember the negative sign, then the whole number, 2 in front of the decimal, and then 5 over 22 is going to be 227. And just put the line over 27 because those are the only numbers that repeat. Now on to the word problems. So Serafina had 34 out of 99 hits when she was at bat. So that's saying it's 34 out of the 99 total, which converting into a decimal form is 0.34 repeating. For the next one, Shiv and his friends ate 3 and 1/6 pizza. So they ate a full pizza, so that'd be a 3 in front of the decimal, and 1/6, which is 1/6 with just the 6 repeating. For the next 3 problems, we need to change the decimal into a fraction or mixed number. So for -0.9, we change that to -9/10, and that is in simplest form, so we can leave it just like that. For number 10, -0.85 is the same as -85 over 100, which then you need to simplify it, and that will be -17 over 20 because both 5 goes into both 85 and 100. For 11, -3.8, that is going to be a mixed number because it has a whole number. So -3 and 8/10 because of the 0.8, which can be simplified into -3 and 4/5. Remember to put that negative sign in front of it. For the next 3 problems, we need to evaluate each expression. And so as you can see, all of them have the absolute value sign. And what that does, that it changes the negative number to a positive, or if it's a positive number, it keeps it the same. So for -2.3 in absolute value, that just changes it to 2.3. For 4/13, that keeps it the same since it's already a positive number. So the answer is 4 over 13. For -8, 7 over 11 in absolute value, that just erases the negative sign, and so it becomes a positive number, 8 7/11. For the last problem, it says there are over 2,700 species of snakes in the world, and over 600 of those are venomous. We need to write the fraction of species that are not venomous as a decimal. So, to find out how many are not venomous, we take 2,700 minus the 600 that are. And so then you get 2,100 that aren't. And so that number goes on top because that's the part of the whole, which the whole would be the total number of species, which is 2,700. And we need to change that to decimal form, which it'd be 2,100 divided by 2,700, which equals 0.77 repeating. For the next part of the worksheet, you can see that 22 is done for you, so let's move on to 23. So take 3 divided by 11, and you'll get 0.27 repeating. And so on your calculator, it will say 0.272727, but you can just write it like this. The next problem is negative 5/8. And if you take 5 divided by 8, you are going to get, so negative 0.625. This one's a little different than other ones that we had because this one doesn't have any numbers that are repeating. So for 25, negative 7/10, that's just negative 0.7. For 26, 2 5/7, that one is going to be the whole number 2 in front of the decimal, and 5 divided by 7 is 714,285. Ooh, that is an 8, and all of those numbers are repeating. For 27, negative 180/99, we have the whole number of negative 1, and then 80 divided by 99 is 0.80th repeating. For the next word problem, Chris answered 61 out of 66 questions correctly on a test, and we need to find his test average to the nearest 1,000th. And so the fraction will be 61/66. And so take 61 divided by 66 and go to the nearest hundredth, which is the third number after the decimal, which will be 0.924. For the next 3, we need to write each of those decimals as a fraction or mixed number in the simplest form. And so negative 0.15, that is going to be similar to negative 15/100, which can simplify to negative 3/20. For number 30, we have negative 7/75, which that will be a mixed number, so it'll be negative 7. And then the 0.75 is like 75/100, but we can simplify that right down to 3/4. And for 31, negative 12/54, the whole number will stay the same, so it'll be negative 12, and then the 54th will be like 54/100, which can simplify down to 27/50. And those are the answers to this worksheet. Now we are on page 391 for the worksheet. And for the first 4 problems, we need to fill in each circle with a greater than, less than, or equal to sign to make the statement true. And so for the first one, you can obviously see that 5/4 is going to be greater than negative 1/5, just because a positive is always greater than a negative number. For the next one, negative 6 1/3 compared to negative 6.375, that one you should make it either a mixed number compared to a mixed number or a decimal compared to a decimal. So I would make sure that I would do that first to compare them. That'll make it a lot easier on you. And once you do that, you will be able to see that negative 6 1/3 is greater than negative 6.375. For number 3, I would do the same. I would either make it a fraction compared to a fraction or a decimal compared to a decimal. And because you can see for changing them, it'll be negative 3/5, which is negative 0.6. And so there you can see that they are equal to each other. Just like the previous two, I would make sure that it'd be a fraction compared to a fraction or a decimal compared to a decimal. And for this certain one, I would actually change it to a decimal. So the negative 9 2/7, that is going to change into negative 9.285714, and that is repeating. And as you can compare that number with the negative 9.3, you can see that that number is actually greater than. So put the greater than sign. For the next two problems, you are going to put the set of numbers in order from least to greatest. So I would do a similar strategy as we did above and change it to all decimals or all mixed numbers, just so that you can get a clear picture of comparing them. And here you can see that I put those set of numbers in order from least to greatest, from the negative to the most positive number. And here I did the same thing by putting these 4 numbers in order from least to greatest. And for the word problem for number 7, we just had to do the same thing as we did in numbers 5 and 6 and order those set of numbers from least to greatest. And you can see my numbers to the side of it. So now we are on page 393, and as you can see, for the next 6 problems, we are going to do the similar thing as we did on the last page on fill in each circle with the greater than, equal to, or less than signs to make the statement true. And as you can see in 16, they did that for you, and a little homework help if you need it is to create your own number line. I would also make sure that the numbers are in the same form, so whether it's decimal form or a fraction mixed number. So for number 17, negative 4.08 compared to negative 4/7, we can tell that negative 4.08 is less than negative 4/7 because of where the numbers are placed compared to the decimal. For 18, they're both in fraction form, so that is perfect. And so what we should do is create the denominator, make common denominators. And so once you find that out, you'll be able to tell that negative 3/7 is less than negative 2/5. For 19, they're in different forms. So I would change it so that they are the same, and once you do that, you'll be able to see that negative 3.375 is greater than negative 3/4. Same with 20, I would change the form so that they are similar, and once you do that, you will tell that they are equal to each other because 1/5 is the same as 0.2. And same with 21, I would change the form so that they are similar, and you can, and like last time, 2/5 is the same as 0.4, and so negative 8.4 is less than negative 8.3. The next two problems are similar to what we did on the other page as well, where we need to order the set of numbers from least to greatest. And as you can see for 22, I have those numbers from least to greatest. and a hint if to make them in the same form. And for 23, you can see that I have the numbers in order from least to greatest. Now this one was a little tricky just because of the two middle numbers. They are very similar. It's 1.25 and 1.25 repeating. And the reason that 1.25 repeating is greater is because the first one, 1.25, that's the same as 1.2500. And so having that extra decimal of the 5 repeating, that makes it a bigger number. 24 is a word problem that you are going to need to put the times in order from least to greatest. So very similar to the two above, it's just in a word problem. And so for here, you can do make them into similar forms. Otherwise, a big hint would just be looking at the whole numbers, because then you can see that -5, a -2, a 3, and 4. And there you can tell right off the bat which one's the least. So look at the negative numbers. -5 is less than -2. And then at the positives, you can see that the 3 and 4. And so there, just look at the whole numbers and that will help you there. And for the last 3 problems on this worksheet, we're doing the similar thing where we fill in the circle with the greater than, less than, or equal to sign to make the statement true. So for the first one, we'll want to make it into the same form. So the -4 and 4/5, that is going to be the same as -4.8. And so compare that to the -4.7 repeating. You'll be able to tell that -4 and 4/5 is less than -4.7 repeating. For 26, you'll be able to tell by the repeating. And so the -3.2555 compared to the -3.222. So we can tell that this number is greater. So we'll want to do the less than sign. And we can tell that this one is greater just because of the decimal of the ones after in the tenths place. And for the last one, that one is similar to the one in 23 where the 1.25 compared to the 1.25 repeating. And so if you just keep going a little bit farther in the decimal, you'll be able to tell that the -5.31331 is bigger because of the fourth number, because this one is a 1 while this one is still a 3. And so that number is going to be smaller since it's on the negative scale, so you'll make a greater than sign.